Welcome back to the Derek Smith Spiel. This is the weekly sports update from July 1st to July 6th, and we're going to get right into it because there is a lot to cover this week. Starting off in Miami, the Party City. Apparently the party isn't hopping though because a lot of players want out. The Dolphins, they're trading away Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith to the Steelers to get back Minkah Fitzpatrick. The Dolphins will also add on a 7th round pick, and the Steelers will add on a 5th round pick. But those, you'd really have to wait and see if those turn into anything. Chances are they probably will not that late in the draft. But Tom Brady, everyone brings up how he was a late pick. The Steelers, they are going to receive Jalen Ramsey. They are going to give him a $1.5 million raise, bringing his compensation up to $26.6 million. Jonnu Smith will also receive a year extension on his contract worth $12 million. Jalen Ramsey, a 3-time Pro Bowler with 24 interceptions, is now in a cornerback room with Darius Slay and Joey Porter Jr. The Steelers' defense is looking elite as always. On the offensive side of the ball for the Steelers, Jonnu Smith is coming off a season where he set a franchise record in Miami for receptions and receiving yards. He had 88 receptions for 884 receiving yards. He also finished 4th in tight end receiving yards last year. Smith is a great addition for the Steelers because he provides another target for Aaron Rodgers other than DK Metcalf. And obviously, there can be some other wide receivers that will step up during the year. But DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, and Aaron Rodgers, that is not a bad trio at all. On top of that, the Steelers' offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, was Jonnu Smith's tight end coach in Genesee. So Tennessee. He was the tight end coach in Tennessee. So those two are very similar with each other, and they should gel very well. They know one another, how they click. So Jonnu Smith isn't getting thrown into an entirely different offense. And even if it is totally different, the transition will be easier just because his familiarity with the offensive coordinator. If you look at the Steelers' offseason, they have been mix and matching like crazy. It's really interesting. Both the Steelers and the Seahawks, they've been not rebuilding, but retooling. So the Steelers, they got rid of Russell Wilson at quarterback and Justin Fields, but they picked up Aaron Rodgers. They got Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay through free agency. They let George Pickens walk, but they got Jonnu Smith and DK Metcalf. So 1 receiver out, 2 receivers in. 2 quarterbacks out, 1 quarterback in. And they also obviously let go of Minkah Fitzpatrick. He is heading back to Miami, but they got 2 defensive backs. So they aren't just getting rid of all of the players they got rid of. They were difference makers last year, but they aren't just getting rid of them for picks. They're getting rid of them and replacing them with just more pros, more professionals who can step up and do their job. It'll be really interesting to see with the Steelers and the Seahawks how long it takes for this new team with just a whole bunch of different people who haven't played before. They're all great, but they're thrown together, haven't communicated. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes them to get on the same page and really start firing on all cylinders. So that's the Steelers side of this trade. On the Dolphins side, Minkah Fitzpatrick is back to his original team and will hopefully grow more fond of Brian Flores. Minkah did not get along very well with Brian Flores. He was upset at him for changing his roles from safety to nickel. So Brian Flores better keep him at safety or else Minkah will probably want out of Miami again. But the Dolphins, they're another team. They've completely revamped their defense. And it will be, like I mentioned earlier, an interesting experiment to see how the group of respected corners and safeties will play together. Minkah Fitzpatrick, he's familiar with the Dolphins' defense. He's been there before. But you've got Ifeatu Melifonwu. He's a new safety coming in from the Lions. They've got a handful of new cornerbacks. Their defense needed an upgrade, but it might not be immediate since the defense is so new to them. That was not the only trade the Dolphins made this week. The Dolphins also traded for Darren Waller. Darren Waller came out of retirement and was technically still signed by the Giants, so the Dolphins traded a 6th and 7th round pick for him. Darren Waller was a top tight end in 2019 and 2020, but was traded to the Giants in 2021, and he retired in 2023. In that time of retirement, he made a rap song, and things didn't pan out with him and Kelsey Plum. But at age 32, he is back in Miami. Waller replaces the hole at tight end after the Dolphins traded away Jonnu Smith, but it is probably a downgrade since he took a year off of football. Especially at, 32, that could still be he could still be in his prime, but to take a year off and come back at a position as physical as tight end, it'll be tough. It'll be tough for Darren Waller. That doesn't even factor in the severe illness that influenced him to retire. I don't know the details on the illness. All I know is that he got very sick, and that is why he retired football. He didn't know if he could play and stay healthy. Now, with that being said, the Dolphins' offensive coordinator, Frank Smith, he was the tight end coach in Las Vegas during Darren Waller's best seasons. So, he does have some chemistry built in. Frank Smith, he was the tight end coach, like Darren Waller's personal coach during his All-Pro, Pro Bowl season. So will those two be able to connect and just hit it off? And the Raiders also have Ashton Jonty in the backfield, another player who's going to be a ton of fun to watch. First year in the NFL, it'll be cool to see how he handles the transition. Now, back to Pittsburgh. A narrative that has come up is, will TJ Watt stay in Pittsburgh? The Steelers have no plans on trading him and want TJ to finish his career in Pittsburgh. However, TJ has skipped mini camps and voiced his discontent with the team. There are obviously multiple teams willing to make a trade for TJ. Watch to see what happens with him during the remaining offseason, because he does not seem interested in Pittsburgh at all. And I wouldn't say it's a fun fact. It's a fun fact unless you're a Chicago fan. The Chicago Bears have never had a 4,000 passing yard quarterback in their 105 seasons of being a team. Just let that sink in a little bit. And also, with that, have the hope that Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams can get on the same page and break that century streak. Ooh, that's ugly. But on to the MLB. Let's talk about Chandler Simpson. Can the speed demon change baseball? Chandler Simpson's home plate to first base time is 3.97 seconds. He is the only player to be under 4 seconds in the home to first time. Chandler Simpson's whole game is he makes soft contact, which he makes contact 87.8% of the time, and then outruns the play to first base. The coaches, since he was younger, he knew he wasn't going to be a power hitter, but he was so fast, he knew as long as he put the ball in play, he had a very high chance of making it to first. And in college, his coaches would tell him, you aren't going to be able to outrun the baseball. Then he outran the baseball in college. He batted .433 in college. And he still went in the second round of the draft because baseball experts were so skeptical of his unorthodox and really unpopular game. Everyone digs the home run ball, the slugging percentage, the extra base hits. Chandler Simpson just gets on base. And it might not be pretty and it might not sell tickets, but the number one thing that sells tickets is winning. And if Chandler Simpson can, Billy Beane and the Oakland Athletics proved that if you get on base, you will score more runs. And Chandler Simpson, he gets on base. But in college, they told him he couldn't outrun the baseball. He did it. In the minor leagues, they told him he couldn't outrun the baseball. He did it. Now he's in the majors, and he's batting .340, and he's been bouncing back and forth between the major leagues and the minor leagues. But it's very clear that he is making an impact. Maybe there's some developmental things they're working on, but it's really good to see for Tampa Bay. The Yankees' game plan against Chandler was to throw him a pitch right down the middle to induce hard contact. That way, either he popped out or the Yankees had time to throw him out at first. That is how fast Chandler Simpson is. And if Chandler Simpson has that much success, it makes you wonder, will speed become the most important thing in baseball? Everyone talks about slowing the game down. Are people going to try and speed it up now? Obviously, pitching, the faster the ball's going, the better. Now is it going to be the faster the base runner, the faster the fielder, the better? Take a watch. Tune into Chandler Simpson. It's still very early in his career. Watch if he changes the sport of baseball. That's crazy to say about a rookie, but just watch out for Chandler Simpson. Now, one guy who made history, Clayton Kershaw, became the 20th pitcher to have 3,000 Ks in his career. Of those 20 pitchers, Clayton Kershaw has the highest winning percentage and the best ERA+. He also has the second highest rate for quality starts, behind only Tom Seaver. Clayton Kershaw, a very dominant pitcher, phenomenal career, still going. And that is a huge, huge accomplishment, 3,000 strikeouts. It is actually more rare than getting 3,000 hits, but probably not more popular than 3,000 strikeouts. Probably isn't as popular as the 3,000 hits, but it is more rare and harder to accomplish. Congratulations, Clayton Kershaw. Guardians pitcher Luis Ortiz is facing a possible ban for gambling. Right now, Ortiz is on a non-disciplinary paid leave while he is being investigated for gambling on whether the pitches he was going to throw were going to be strikes or balls. The MLB knew to look at Ortiz and if he had gambled because betting integrity firm IC360 flagged Ortiz in June. The alert suggested that Luis Ortiz could have been betting on his very first pitch to be a strike, a ball, or even to hit a batter. Ortiz's leave is scheduled to end at the end of the All-Star games, but if the investigation is not over with, the leave would be extended. And if he's found guilty, he will likely face a lifelong ban from the MLB. And rightfully so, it has been made clear in the MLB that you cannot bet. That's just the bottom line. And you've got to hold every player accountable to that. It's not looking good for Luis Ortiz. Finally, on to the UFC. Max Holloway's knockout over Justin Gaethje, knockout of the year, maybe one of the best knockouts in UFC history. I still really like Joaquin Buckley's spinning back kick knockout. But that's not the point. Max Holloway's knockout over Justin Gaethje got 9 million views in 1 year. Ilia Toporia's knockout over Charles Oliveira got 11 million views in 1 day. Ilia Topuria, he's becoming a very interesting character. Obviously bringing in the UFC money, 11 million views on a knockout in 1 day. That just blew the knockout of the year last year out of the water. Blew it out of the water. He's not really... He's popular, but he's not loved. The fans do not like Ilia Topuria. They want to see him lose right now because he is so confident. It comes off as arrogant, and people hate it, but everyone's watching. Everyone's watching him. Dana White is going to have to... He's going to have to milk the cash cow in Ilia Topuria right now because everyone is going to watch just to see if he loses. Alexandre Pantoja, after his win over Kai Kara France, he now has more wins, more finishes, and more submissions than Demetrius Johnson, taking the top spot in flyweight history. So congratulations to Alexandre Pantoja. Demetrius Johnson, he is very controversial in the UFC, but he is one of the best to do it. And for Alexandre Pantoja to pass him and all of those stats is insane. Congrats to Pantoja. ESPN gave a number grade to each weight class in the UFC, and they went from heaviest to lightest. So, of course, I didn't turn around the right way and go lightest to heaviest. I kept it in heaviest to lightest form. Starting at heavyweight. Heavyweight got an F. And I didn't even have to read it to know why, but I did. There's a huge gap between Tom Aspinall, John Jones, and the rest of the division. Now that Jones is gone and there will be no super fight, the one fight everyone wanted to watch in the heavyweight division, there's the next best guy for Tom Aspinall is Cyril Gane, who John Jones finished in the first round. There's just not many interesting title fights at the heavyweight division right now, and it was kind of disappointing in the last year. Light heavyweight received a B+. And if you look at the top fighters, they've got Magomed Ankalaev, Alex Pereira, Yuri Prohaschev, Khalil Rountree, Jamal Hill, and Dominic Reyes. And Alex Pereira had a ton of phenomenal fights last year. Yuri, Khalil Rountree, all those guys had, Jamal Hill as well, had great fights. At the middleweight division, they received a C grade. They have Dracus du Plessis, Sean Strickland, Hamzat Chimaev, and Reiner de Ritter. There have been some good fights in the middleweight division, but the reason ESPN graded it lower was because of the result in the du Plessis-Strickland 2 fight. It was just very anticlimactic after all the smack talk, and Sean Strickland speaking on being robbed in the first fight, and then not really amping it up in the second fight. I do think that's a fair grade for the middleweight division, but I think there will be improvement next year. Welterweight, they received an A, and when you look at all the people in welterweight, you've got Jack Della Maddalena, Bilal Muhammad, Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, Joaquin Buckley, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Machado Gary, and now Islam Makhachev. It's loaded. Welterweight is a loaded division. A ton of phenomenal fighters. The top 10 is close. it's competitive. There's good fights, whether it's a championship fight or just like an undercard fight. It's an amazing division. That was a clear A grade right there. Lightweight got a C minus, but they've got a lot of top tier fighters too. They've got Ilia Topuria, Paddy the Baddy, Arman Sarukian, Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, and Charles Oliveira. I actually think the grade is a bit low in the lightweight division. There were a ton of great fights this year and great upcoming fights in the lightweight division. Coming up, Dustin Poirier. It is his last fight. Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway at UFC 318. That's going to be a banger. The BMF belt on the line. That is a huge draw. Ilia Topuria obviously just had a great finish against Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira had a great fight against Michael Chandler. Yeah, all of these guys put on a show. I'm surprised at the low C minus grade. The featherweight division got a B. The featherweight division has Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopez, Lerone Murphy, Patricio Pitbull, Brian Ortega, and now Aljamain Sterling. Bantamweight got a B minus. In the bantamweight division, there's Merab Dvalishvili, Umar Nurmagomedov, Corey Sandhagen, Henry Cejudo, Peter Yan, and Sean O'Malley. At flyweight, that got another B. Some of the top fighters, Alexandre Pantoja, Joshua Van, Kai Kara France, and Brandon Moreno. Women's bantamweight got an F. That's unfortunately another clear F. Kayla Harrison cleaned house so well that the retired GOAT Amanda Nunes has to return, and that's going to be the most interesting fight. I am looking forward to that fight. Amanda Nunes is amazing. No matter who she was fighting, I would watch her. But to see Amanda Nunes face Kayla Harrison, that's going to be a very good fight. Because both Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes are on a different level. So to see those two go at it is going to be amazing. And finally, the women's flyweight division received a C. The top fighters in that division are Jessica Andrade, Valentina Shevchenko, Alexa Grasso, and Natalia Silva. Oh, I lied. The last one is actually women's strawweight. That got a D+. Their top fighters are Zhang Weili, Verna Jandiroba, and Amanda Lemos. So there it is. That was the ESPN grades at each division. I thought they were pretty accurate, except for really the lightweight division. I thought that was a low grade. Now to the internet drama in the UFC. There's always internet drama. Arman Sarukian said that when Topuria fights him, he will not be as confident. He said that Topuria was so confident against Charles Oliveira because of the matchup. According to Arman, he said that Topuria knew he would win the fight as long as Oliveira was not on the bottom, just throwing submission after submission. And I think that's a very accurate statement. At one point in the fight, Oliveira almost got Topuria in a leg lock. And Topuria just went back. Oliveira stayed on the ground. He wanted to keep it on the ground. That's where he's most comfortable and where he had the most chances of winning the fight. But Ilya just kept his distance, and they made them stand up. So I think Arman's very right with that. Topuria definitely felt confident that he would win anywhere but on the ground against Oliveira. But Arman took it a step further. He also said that Topuria's 3-fight win streak isn't as impressive as people are saying it is. He said that he's catching legends past their prime. Arman claims if Topuria met Volk, 5 years ago, he would get eaten up. Eaten up was the actual term that he used as well. So, Armand and Patty, they're both working really hard to get Ilya next. Everyone wants to fight Ilya next. One, because he's the best, and two, as I mentioned earlier, he is bringing in a ton of publicity. So that's a big fight, no matter what. And my last announcement, really, it seems like the most nonsensical, but I thought it was a joke at first. It looks like it might actually be real. Donald Trump announces that he wants to hold a UFC event at the White House in 2026 to celebrate 250 years of American independence. So yeah, that is where Donald Trump's at. And that's where the UFC is at. Like, that's awesome for the UFC. But that's where I'm at. I'm done. This is the weekly sports update, July 1st through July 6th. Thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by yours truly, Derek Smith, with help from the voice memos and Spotify Podcasters app. For more content like this, you can continue listening to the Derek Smith Spiel on Spotify, or you can listen on my YouTube channel at Derek Smith Stock 13. There you'll find my podcast and sports betting videos on top of that. If you're a fan of my sports betting videos, you can also see highlights of those on my TikTok account. You can find that by searching at SmithStock5 again on TikTok. Enjoy collecting cards? If so, check out my Collects account at Derek Smith Stock to get deals on quality cards. For updates on everything I mentioned, follow my Instagram account. You can find that by searching Derek Smith Stock 13 on Instagram. Not interested in sports? Then go to YouTube and watch Dylan Smith Outdoors YouTube channel. Search Dylan Smith Outdoors, where there are plenty of outdoor content videos, including hunting, catching, trail cam and tree stand setup, cooking, and plenty of laughs in between. Need your lawn sprayed? Whether it's weeds or insects, Greenwood Ecologics has you covered. If you need help making your lawn greener than your neighbors, call Greenwood Ecologics at 585-739-1610. I repeat, 585-739-1610. Finally, thank you for listening to this production of the Derek Smith Spiel. Every view or listener is appreciated. I'll catch you later.